What happens if Willow makes a mistake in deactivating her Will Be Done spell and finds herself inside the most secure military base on Earth? Hey everyone, this is TA Stories 80 where we narrate fanfiction audiobooks. Now we begin a remastered version of Chapter 1 of An Extraordinary Journey. Let's dive in. Sunnydale, California, 2300 hours. Willow Rosenberg sat alone in her room, curled into one corner with her knees drawn tightly to her chest. She had cried so much that her eyes were swollen and red. Something had happened earlier that night, something that affected her best friends, and she was the cause of it. Everyone had warned her to be careful with magic, especially dark magic, but she hadn't listened. Despite what they had said afterward, Willow knew in her heart that she had hurt her friends badly. She knew that beneath all outward appearances, they were still furious with her, especially Giles and Buffy. Her thoughts drifted back to the events of earlier that night. She and the rest of the Scoobies had been trapped inside a crypt in one of Sunnydale's many graveyards, using the stone walls for protection as a swarm of demons attacked them from all sides. Everyone had been shouting at her to reverse the wish spell. Just as the crypt door, held shut by Buffy and Spike with all their strength, was about to crash open, Willow managed to undo the spell. Pounding stopped instantly. The fists against the walls vanished. The wish faded, and Xander was no longer a literal demon magnet. That wish, cast in anger, had been the reason the demons chased him in the first place. And because the Scoobies had protected him, they had all been attacked. When the spell ended, Willow turned to Giles. His blindness was gone, his vision restored, but the disappointment on his face was unmistakable. He told her he had expected better. He warned her that the spell could have ended in disaster, that it could have killed all of them. Willow stood frozen as Giles brushed past her and exited the crypt, anger radiating off him. "Buff," Willow whispered, her bottom lip trembling as she looked at her best friend. "I'm sorry, Go home, Will," Buffy replied quietly as she moved past the redhead and followed Giles outside. "Buffy," Willow called after her, voice cracking. "I'm sorry, please, I'm sorry." Buffy didn't respond. How could she? Willow had wished, joking or not, that Buffy marry Spike, and she nearly had. Buffy had been forced into it. It had been a violation of her will, of her body. "Damn," Spike muttered as he passed Willow, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. "Got Slayer taste in my mouth." Willow watched as he stepped into the night, only to be grabbed by Buffy, who twisted his left arm behind his back before she and Giles dragged him away. Only Xander and Anya remained. Willow closed her eyes briefly, then turned towards Xander, who stood with his hands shoved into his pockets. She shifted her gaze to Anya, whose arms were folded tightly across her chest. "You could have killed us, you know," Anya snapped as Willow stared at the floor. "What were you thinking?" "Anya, it's alright. We're all safe now. See?" Xander offered, though his eyes lingered on Willow's despair. She looked up at him, wearing the same expression she'd had years ago in kindergarten after breaking a yellow crayon. "No, Xander," Anya cut in sharply. She looked back at Willow. "You're dealing with powerful magics you can't control. You almost got my Xander killed." "I'm sorry," Willow murmured. "I'm going home," Anya declared as she brushed past Willow, then turned back towards Xander. "You're coming with me." "I'll meet you outside," Xander replied. Anya huffed and stormed out of the crypt. Xander stepped closer to Willow. "Will, I know you're hurting." "I'm sorry," Willow whispered, meeting his eyes. "I didn't mean it. I just wanted the pain to stop. I never thought it would hurt anyone." "Well," Xander replied with a shrug, forcing a grin. "At least now I know what it's like to be a magnet. Though, I'd prefer being a ladies' magnet. Not the love spell thing, just magnetized for the ladies." Willow stared at him, knowing the humor was a shield. The disappointment was still there, hidden behind the joke. Her lips trembled, and she looked down again, wiping at her eyes. "Will," Xander said gently as her shoulders shook. He placed his hands on her shoulders, steady and warm. He told her to give everyone time, that no one had expected this, and that things would settle down. "Come by Giles's place tomorrow." "He hates me," Willow whispered. "Buffy and Anya hate me. She looked up at him again. "And I can see it in your eyes, Xander. You hate me too." "Willow," Xander protested, shaking his head. "I'll go home," Willow said quietly as she turned away. She passed Anya, apologizing once more before heading out into the night. Back in her room, Willow felt as though she had betrayed everyone. She knew the mess had started with her broken heart, Oz cheating on her with Veruca, another werewolf. The breakup followed quickly. Then Oz left Sunnydale without saying goodbye. Between the breakup, the disaster with the wish spell, and her parents being away in Europe on a lecture tour, Willow felt utterly alone. She regretted staying in Sunnydale after their disastrous graduation. She had offers from MIT, Caltech, Harvard, Princeton. Instead, she chose UC Sunnydale. She chose her friends. Now, with everything collapsing around her, she just wanted to leave. She didn't care where, as long as it wasn't Sunnydale. "I hurt my friends," she thought. "I hurt the people who trusted me." "I'm so tired," Willow whispered into the darkness. She leaned her head back against the wall, wiping tears from her cheeks with trembling hands. Her thoughts drifted again to the spell she had almost cast to make Oz and Veruca hate each other. To Oz's roommate calling earlier, explaining that Oz's belongings were gone. No one knew where he had gone. Willow remembered rushing to the house, knocking frantically, being led inside, running to Oz's room, the door swinging open, the emptiness. Everything was gone. That night, back in her dorm room, Willow had cast the Will Be Done spell. She had hoped it would heal her heart. She had hoped her will would be done. It backfired spectacularly. Giles blinded, Xander hunted, Buffy nearly married to Spike. "They hate me," Willow whispered to herself. "Even if they forgive me, there will always be a part of them that hates me, a part that fears me." She knew something had to change. "I don't belong here," Willow said aloud. "I stayed for others. I didn't stay for me. I want a new life, a different life. I want to be somewhere I'm needed for being me. Somewhere I don't need magic to hurt people. Somewhere I can be normal." The moment the words left her mouth, a cold knot twisted in her stomach. "No," Willow whispered. Before she could say anything else, the world tilted. A dark blue tunnel twisted around her, pulling her backward. She felt herself accelerating faster and faster until she crashed onto a red table. Surprised voices echoed faintly around her. Then everything went dark. HGC briefing room, 23:15 hours. SG-1 was in the middle of a briefing with General George Hammond regarding their upcoming mission to P6X 398. The planet was primarily an agricultural society, with villages scattered across vast distances. However, the soil was rich in aqueduct deposits, making it essential for Stargate Command to maintain a treaty with the local population in order to mine the precious mineral in exchange for medical and agricultural technology. Without warning, the room began to shake violently. Chairs rattled, and papers slid across the table. Everyone jumped to their feet and rushed to the briefing room window to check on the Stargate. But there were no telltale signs of an incoming wormhole. Then, as they stared at the inactive Stargate in confusion, a loud thud echoed through the room. Whoa, what the heck?" Colonel Jack O'Neill exclaimed after he spun around. Lying unconscious on the long conference table behind them was a red-haired girl. O'Neill moved quickly to her side, staring down at her in disbelief as a dozen questions ran through his mind. Chief among them, how she had managed to appear out of thin air. "Where did she come from?" asked the blonde Air Force officer in BDUs, her voice tight with shock as she stared at the girl. Daniel and Teal'c stood beside her, equally stunned. "Medical team to the briefing room," General George Hammond barked into a nearby wall-mounted phone. O'Neill pressed 2 fingers gently against the girl's neck, searching for a pulse. After a moment, he looked up at the general and nodded. "She's got a pulse, but her skin's ice cold. We need to get her to the infirmary." "Dr. Fraiser is on her way," Hammond replied without hesitation. A moment later, the doors opened and Dr. Janet Fraiser rushed in from the adjacent hallway, pushing a gurney with 2 nurses close behind. Her eyes immediately locked onto the young woman lying on the table. "Oh my God," she breathed. "What happened?" "No idea, Doc," O'Neill answered as he carefully lifted the redhead into his arms and placed her gently onto the gurney. She just dropped in out of nowhere. All right, Janet nodded. Let's get her to the infirmary, now. The nurses moved quickly, and the gurney was wheeled out as SG-1 exchanged uneasy glances, the unanswered questions hanging heavy in the air. SGC Infirmary. After her sudden appearance in the briefing room, the mysterious redhead had a guard posted at the doors to the infirmary. 2 hours later, she slowly began to open her eyes. At first, everything was blurry, but then her vision started to clear, and she managed to take in her surroundings. An IV line ran into her arm, connected to a machine measuring her heartbeat and oxygen levels. As her focus sharpened, she noticed a red-haired woman standing near the doorway, speaking quietly to a guard holding an enormous machine gun. Oh no, what did I get myself into now? Willow thought before a short, red-haired woman noticed she was awake and moved toward her. Why, hello there. My name's Dr. Fraiser. The woman greeted warmly. What's yours? Hi. My name's Willow. Willow Rosenberg. Nice to meet you, Willow. Do you know where you are? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be here. Please don't be angry? Willow blurted out, panic creeping into her voice. I just want to go home. She was terrified. She had no idea what she had gotten herself into. Where was she? Why were there people with guns? Was she still in Sunnydale? What had she fallen into? Where had it spit her out? Easy, easy, Dr. Fraiser soothed gently. Calm down, Willow. You're safe here. You have a mild concussion and some bruising on your arms and legs. In a trembling voice, Willow asked where she was. Well, Willow, I'm not able to answer that just yet, Fraiser replied carefully. But I have some colleagues who would like to ask you a few questions. Are you up for that? Okay, I guess that should be fine, Willow replied hesitantly. Are they angry at me? They're mostly curious about how you ended up here, Fraiser assured her in a distinctly motherly tone. I'll be nearby the whole time. Willow nodded. You'll be right back, right? I will, Fraiser promised before stepping out. As Dr. Fraiser spoke with General Hammond just outside the infirmary, Willow caught a brief glimpse of him through the doorway. After a few minutes, the man entered the room with 4 others following closely behind. Hello, young lady, he greeted evenly. My name is General Hammond, and I am the commander of this facility. This is Colonel Jack O'Neill, Major Samantha Carter, Dr. Daniel Jackson, and that is Murray. Hey kid, the colonel chimed in casually. Nice of you to drop in on us like that. General Hammond shot him a look before turning back to Willow. Miss, you are found without any identification. Who are you? Although phrased as a question, it felt more like a command. Willow hesitated, glancing at the uniforms. Air Force, she realized, her eyes catching the words stitched into the fabric. I'm on an Air Force base? She considered lying, but fear tightened her chest. Getting into trouble with Air Force officials seemed like a very bad idea. My name is Willow Rosenberg, she answered honestly. I'm from Sunnydale, California. I'm 19 years old and I'm a student at UC Sunnydale. And how did you get here? Carter asked. That was harder to explain, or maybe easier, depending on how one looked at it. After all, Willow had appeared out of thin air. There was no believable way to explain her presence without mentioning magic. Sneaking onto the base, past security, into the briefing room, and onto a table was clearly impossible. She met their expectant gazes and swallowed. I made a wish? Willow admitted nervously. A wish, Daniel echoed. You mean a wish as in... A wish to be somewhere else, Willow finished quietly. She couldn't help noticing that none of them were panicking. I cast a spell to make it happen. There was an accident earlier with the same spell. Things went wrong and my friends got hurt before I could fix it. I reversed it, or at least I thought I did. I guess I reversed the effects, not the spell itself, and... Easy, kid, O'Neill interrupted gently. Take a breather. Willow inhaled deeply, steadying herself before continuing. My friends were angry with me. I went home and wished to be somewhere else. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to end up here. I just want to go home. The room fell silent. Teal'c, introduced as Murray, tilted his head slightly and raised an eyebrow. Did you say a spell? Carter asked slowly. As in magic. Yes, Willow replied earnestly. I swear it was an accident. Major Carter opened her mouth to respond, but Dr. Fraiser stepped in. That's enough for tonight, she said firmly. Willow needs food and rest. Very well, Doctor, General Hammond agreed. Since she's stable, place her in one of our guest rooms. We'll continue questioning tomorrow. In the meantime, I'll need to inform my superiors and come up with a better explanation than she made a wish. General? Willow ventured. There's no reason to tell anyone about this, right? I mean, I'd really like to go home. I'm sorry, young lady, Hammond replied gently but firmly. That won't be possible right now. You appeared out of thin air in the most secure facility on this planet. Until we understand how and why, you'll need to remain here. Okay, Willow murmured, unease settling in. Noticing her fear, Colonel O'Neill softened his tone. Listen, kid, we'll ask a few questions tomorrow, that's all. For now, the guards will escort you to a guest room. You'll get some food. Try the cake. And a real bed. And don't let the general scare you. He's basically a teddy bear. General Hammond lifted his shoulders in a small shrug. Despite everything, Willow managed a faint smile. To be continued.